After 1,500 hours in Guild Wars 2 and around 4,000 hours in Guild Wars 1, as well as crafting a legendary across 2 years, I finally understand why people love Guild Wars 2. To give you a little more background, I've had a gaming experience that is most likely the same as all of you. We started off much younger, playing games exceptionally suboptimally, and just getting lost in these worlds. But eventually, after playing more, we started to get wiser. Maybe we started playing with friends, competing with each other, at first jokingly, but eventually you start trying to one-up each other and learn more about whatever it is you're playing. Make more gold, get a higher rating, but you fast forward this 10 years and you wind up in a scenario most of us are facing. I can 100% Guild Wars 2, and I've never really paid attention to the game, because you see, 100%ing is a task with a goal. Hell, most MMOs are tasks with a goal. Get higher gear score, kill X raid boss. Because you focus on the goal, you optimize the path as much as humanly possible. Why pay attention to the landscape when you can follow the top right indicator on your raptor until the map's complete? After all, only 10 more maps like this and I've got my Incinerator, right? That's how I thought. That's how I've been thinking about gaming as a whole. We don't sit down to get lost anymore. We sit down to complete in the most optimized and quickest way possible. You see, recently I've been worried about time, where I spend it and what I get from it. And after attempting Guild Wars 2 completely fresh, I realized the mistakes I had been making. Allow me, in the next few minutes, to show you a glimpse into the world we lost. You see, in fully optimized MMO play, you play with a camera fully zoomed out, so you have complete awareness of everything going on. You can see all boss mechanics and identify every single threat in PvP. But what I didn't realize is how much dimension you lose as a result. You see, Guild Wars 2 allows you to create your own camera setup in whatever way you like. And as I had decided on going with a warrior for my class, I set up a third-person Dark Souls style action camera. And let me tell you, I realized how much I had lost when a Sormir actually felt like a boss fight. To sidebar a little, I have multi-classer syndrome, or as psychologists call it, ADHD. I, during my time in MMOs, seem to somehow always end up with a capped version of every class. This came as a benefit as a content creator, since I had more tools at my disposal, but meant I never really built a connection to any of them in any game I played. When characters are just tools, you don't go into exact details about your mount colorings. This time, I chose to do things a little differently. I was going to pick one class that interested me and give everything to it. And as an homage to childhood me, I chose Warrior, the first class I ever got out of pre-searing as a young 8-year-old child with wonder in his eyes. And there I was, in Guild Wars 2, fresh and laid bare before a world I've hardly ever interacted with. The normal methodology would be finish a Sormir, go to the PvP lobby, exercise my reading skills with 80 tomes of knowledge, and go farm fractals until I closed the game for 6 months. But no, this was to be different. This wasn't about the goal. This time was about the journey. In character creation, it gives you a couple roleplay options, all of which I've played the stories for, so they didn't really feel fresh to me. It just boiled down to picking which story was the fastest to clear. But this time I opted to put a theme to my character and invest in the backstory. I opted for the angriest, assholiest Nord warrior who handles everything with ferocity, to find out if it was possible to even be the slightest bit evil in the Guild Wars 2 story, or if I was destined to be Tyria's savior, who for some reason spends all their day farming flax. I had no idea, unfortunately, what I was walking into. I tried to slow down right from the start, actually listening to scout dialogue instead of instantly pressing M and rushing the hearts. I took my time exploring the early starting zone, and with this new perspective from my camera change, everything felt so much bigger. Being in caves actually felt like being enclosed underground. That feeling of seeing Stormwind for the first time kept perpetually happening with areas I've already been through. Remember, I already have 100% map completion, but the world stood out so much more. The towering Norn structures and statues actually letting vistas play instead of instantly closing them for the completion credit. Asking myself, ooh, what's over here? Instead of letting the compass dictate my experience, all of a sudden I'm running into dynamic events that normally I would run past and not give a shit about, as they don't factor into completion. A shortcoming I don't think the devs thought about, but to be fair, doing every event to complete a zone would be beyond time consuming. It started creating unique moments where I'm out exploring, stumble across a large cave and wonder what's in it, to find an NPC asking me to escort them through it, and having a reason to explore deeper. Getting invested in the event that I would normally skip, and seeing items from vendors afterwards. Well, new items anyways. And whilst most of them are pretty forgettable, I decided about halfway through my time to put a light challenge on myself of seeing if I could hit level 80 without dying. Old Guild Wars 1 Survivor style. Although I couldn't, and whilst there's no achievement for it, that I know of anyways, it changed my approach to gameplay quite a bit. As a warrior, I have access to nearly every weapon, so as I started leveling and gaining access to new tools and weapon drops, I started to experiment. You see, if you play warrior at the top end, I hope you enjoy 2,000 hours of greatsword, because for the longest time it was the highest damage weapon you could wield. So to say I had no idea what the abilities for offhand mace were, kind of puts into perspective just how much I truly missed in my optimization pursuits. Quickly I started mixing and matching weapons, seeing what felt cool. Axe mace, sword, sword mace, longbow, rifle. Now there's a weapon. During my normal time in Guild Wars 2, I played Ranger, and I spent my time wishing for double pet Rifle Ranger. But you're telling me all this time this version of Rifle Warrior has just been sitting here waiting to be discovered. Multiple charges of volley, one-tapping mobs with kill shot. I'm a warrior who, due to build variety and options, is a more enjoyable range class than my bow-wielding Longbow Ranger. A quick commentary on builds then. The part I'm looking forward to experimenting with the most. Guild Wars 2 boasts an interesting system of tons of build variety, and yet none at the exact same time. You see, if you take on some of the highest content or wish to push high PvP tiers, you'll have a very bad time with a handcrafted build. Sword, power warrior, kicked from group and one-shot by a backstab thief, even post 100 nerfs. But in open world, marching to your own doctrine, no one can tell you differently. So I did it. I played suboptimally. I used what looked and felt cool, and fuck me, I had a great time doing it. I started theorycrafting open world builds that I could use to explore the world with, and realized now was the perfect time to have these epiphanies, as the new Wizard's Vault, the current expansion daily revamp, was selling build template expansions, which, because fuck you, I guess, is character specific, along with bag slots and bank slots. Fuck that marketing guy. I started thinking about sword torch, longbow berserker, axe, greatsword, power berserker, and start pondering what kill shot becomes when I berserk. All things to discover in time. Did you catch it? Did you say it? I know you said it. I know you said just Google it, because I did too. Even writing this script I thought about it. But you see, my friends, that's our problem. We run from our discoveries. We lose the draw that keeps us going. We sacrifice the things that could inspire us to keep moving forward, because we just look the damn thing up and remove the mystery. That's what kept us playing all those years ago. The fact we didn't know that gave us the drive to get there. I feel the rise of the internet has heavily hurt gaming, and that we've developed a fear of the unknown, and an unwillingness to discover, because someone's already done the work for us. Someone's made the Rifle Warrior build guide, and all I have to do to succeed is copy it, rip through the world at breakneck pace, destroying everything in my path, removing all enjoyment from challenge, and all the fun of discovery. So I implore you, my friends, think of a stupid concept, the wildest build you can imagine, and go make it. Don't Google anything you may be inclined to. Test it yourself, and rediscover what it is to discover. Maybe you'll fail. Maybe the build will be horrible, but just maybe you may enjoy the process. And that, my friends, is what Guild Wars 2 is all about. The process and the journey. This is when Guild Wars 2 finally clicked. To come into Guild Wars 2 seeking goals is a fast track to skip the fun part. And it leads to days where you just spam fractals and do the most optimal gold farming methods, even if you don't actually enjoy the game doing so. take it from someone who did it. So now I look forward to the maps I have yet to explore, even though I may have breezed past them at breakneck pace, charging towards my incinerator. I look forward to replaying missions I may have already done, to talk to the NPCs and roleplay my complete bitch of a character. And whilst I feel quite sad at the realization of what I've missed across my last year's gaming, there's a seed of hope that at least I get to experience it now, with the correct perspective to appreciate it. I find myself today at the start of a long journey, one fraught with map completion, slow-paced story consumption, and potentially another legendary journey, as I eye Eternity, Frostfang, Kudzu, and the Predator. The Wizard's Vault may aid me in that plan with its new legendary starter pack, which I can't help but give them praise for, as it sets all the journeyless people on a path that they may not have considered. As my issue with Guild Wars 2 used to be logging in, having no idea what to do, and logging out, now people in my previous place may be able to be directed into a long-standing adventure, and hopefully grips them as much as I pray Guild Wars 2's future content will grip me. And whilst I'm far from it, I look forward to attempting to see what I can find at level 80, on my own, with my own builds and self-creations, thrown together entirely suboptimally, to create my own adventure. Because that, my friends, is what Guild Wars 2 is truly about. Picking the legendary that appeals to you, playing the builds that you like, collecting and acquiring things that you deem cool. Where other MMOs put you on rails and say this is your path, Guild Wars 2 tells you the path is yours to choose, and the adventure is yours to discover. An adventure that in 1,500 hours, I seemingly missed.
They never prepare you for what comes after. When the lights fall, when journeys end. We may lead lives of luxury now, but you often forget to appreciate it, moment by moment. Life blends together, days become months, months become years, and suddenly, you've spent an eternity doing the same damn thing. Until one day, something comes along and shakes things up. Maybe for a while, maybe just for a short time. But the thing I've learned in my very short years is something is always coming. And it's what you personally shape it into that dictates your experience. After my previous video essay garnered loads of traction, I realized this might actually be an angle to play. So thank you all so very much for enjoying my opinion. As someone who's had a history of bad things happening from opinion pieces, it's nice to be heard and appreciated. And I hope you all follow along as I find my voice throughout time. You'll see it's been a while. Life took its toll. And whilst it was difficult, I now stand at the beginning of what I hope is some of my best years of content, as I'm now able to do YouTube full-time and comfortably for the first time in my life, due to making some massive sacrifices for it. So I pray my coming work pays off. Now, enough about me. I have a topic I'd like to speak to you about today. I think over my next year or so, I'll be delving into the unspoken rules of design, and how they've shaped gaming in their various ways. The rule I'd like to talk about today, we will call freshness. But first, a story. You see, after the last video, I've kept playing Guild Wars 2, and building on the foundation I had laid previously. Because you see, I ran into an interesting problem. I made that character with a specific playstyle in mind. A spin-to-win berserker. You see, when I watched PvP roaming montages when I got bored, I'd always see warriors chopping people in half with this Bladestorm-like ability. And it looked so fucking cool, it got me to re-download the game, prompting the previous video when I decided to make that warrior. And everything was going well, until I hit level 80, unlocked Berserker, and realized they had removed the fucking spin the previous month. Not the year, no, the previous month before I started playing. They nerfed Arc Divider back to a singular swing. So yeah, Warrior didn't last long. But I knew, after the reception of that video and how I felt playing myself, that I had a good conceptual basis, and I wanted to see what would happen if I expanded on that style. And boy was I not ready for what happened in the slightest. I started off small. Warrior didn't work out, so I opted for Necro, hoping to relive some of my time as a dervish main when I unlocked Reaper. Keeping on this same concept, I invested in her. Mount skins, unique color scheme, her own set of crafting disciplines, and a self-crafted build that could rival the dumbest of my inventions. Necro was also my first light armor class, so it came completely fresh with no ascended gear, which led me to a pickle. I wanted to main Necromancer, but I couldn't do my daily routine on it. That's when I realized I could make my warrior my permanent Fractals character, as she had the gear set up to run them front and center, and I could take my Necro out into the open world. Or so I thought. Because then we got hit with the Halloween event. And if you know anything about Guild Wars 2, you know I spent 20 days mindlessly brain-offing the lab so I could get the account upgrades, but I spiced it up this time by running Harbinger, which I wound up realizing is horribly designed and anti-synergistic. So I'm going to do a video at some point where I redesign it to be much, much cooler thematically. So stay tuned for that. During this time of labbing on my Harbinger, I also completed the Bifrost, a legendary staff in Guild Wars 2, in 3 days. Yeah, there's gonna be a video on that too, don't worry. I did all of this whilst moving our entire setup multiple provinces in the background. It's been a rough month. But what perplexed me was that during all this farming, the brain off, I was never bored. Even though I was running in circles, I chose to do it with Harbinger this time, since the pistol shot bounced, and I thought that was the coolest shit ever. I'll take any time off of Thief I can get nowadays, honestly, but you know. Now, you fast forward to this week. We finally got set up. I opened Guild Wars 2, and I couldn't stand the sight nor thought of playing my Necro. But what I did learn as a side project during my time with her was that Necromancer is exceptionally easy to win with in PvP. Since after crafting my Bifrost, I went on a bit of a legendary kick and decided to work on the Ascension. Coupled with the fact I knew I still wanted a couple of legendaries, I was at an impasse. So much to do, so many builds to play and try out, so little time. And that's when it clicked. As I near the 2,000 hour mark in Guild Wars 2, I'm left with remnants of my past. Stories of different men told through character names and designs, covered in so much dust, I might break my sneezing record. My highest is 8 in a row, by the way. But I understood now what I had to do over the next few days. I spent countless hours reviving the ashes of my past, and dusting off old souls, redesigning, recreating, and rebuilding in the image of a future of my true choosing. Characters I thought would do great things now lie in place, waiting for execution. And my 8-year-old characters see new life so that they may reach their 10 years and reward me in kind. Freshness. Found in Guild Wars 2 by dedication. My thief, who crafted my Incinerator after 2 years, once a dead and dormant storage character, now roams world versus world with a self-crafted sword-dagger staff setup, slaying all in her path towards my gift of battle. My warrior lies dedicated to Fractals of the Mists, as Axe Berserker absolutely pumps out damage, and whilst it isn't Bladestorm, I'll take Cyclone Axe. And my Necromancer lies dedicated to open world. At least, that was my original plan, until what spurred me to make this video happened. I got fucking bored again, okay? Like, I got fucking bored, right? I had run 20 days of lab with this fucking pistol. What did I expect? Like, the Bifrost is cool as shit, but it only changes my staff auto attacks. I would have at least hoped it'd make a rainbow explosion on the marks, or like drop a rainbow meteor shower on Elementalist, but no. After all was said and done, I was still bored with the character I was going to 100% the map with.
and we can't really have that, can we? Until I logged onto my final character. My 6-year-old ranger. My main of many years. That I finally gave up playing because some cunt on the design team decided I got mace this year. Not rifle, not pistol, no, we're not a range class, but we'll give it to Guardian and fucking Mesmer. No, I'm not salty. I'm not salty. But you see, when you look at design as a whole, you realize how much is copied in gaming nowadays. Feature for feature, pound for pound, every game tries to have something for everyone, which normally winds up being quite shit. But in this case, I hit the jackpot. Since I've recently gotten heavily into Pokemon Go and catching just about everything I can, the realization that Ranger World Completion is just Pokemon Go with violence makes things get a whole lot more interesting. Couple that with wanting to go for the fishing achievements like a true old man, and every single map gets so much more depth. But do you want to know the wildest part? It took me about an hour to switch everything from my Necromancer to my Ranger. I made one of the best transmogs I think I've ever made, and with that, Guild Wars 2 was fresh all over again. New builds, new pets, new adventures, new stories, all revitalized at the hands of one decision. Since nearly everything in Guild Wars 2 is account-bound, you can swap mains at the drop of a hat. But what was I to do with the Necromancer, who I had invested in and developed? Well, she now spends her days claiming souls in search of ascension. And my final character? Just a simple bank tune who stood the test of time, that I gave a fresh look to decorate my character screen, and whose inventory I partially attempted to clean. Thanks to Guild Wars 2's account-based system, having a character for each mode grants you a plethora of new capabilities. Pop all your PvP boosters on your PvP character, and watch them never tick down unless you log into it. Save inventory space by consolidating everything related to fractals on one character. Don't feel like inventory management? That's okay. We world versus world today. Up for a bit of collection and adventure? Ranger it is. Couple this with each character getting 2 equipment templates, letting you simultaneously run multiple builds, and getting bored gets difficult. Nowadays, I look forward to my character selection screen, as after a lot of love and care, I now wield 5 different characters, with 5 different purposes, for 5 different modes, with 5 different custom identities, and 5 different pasts, working together towards one collective future. But don't worry, I still haven't killed Zaitan. Legendaries. A status symbol to some, Guild Wars 2's true endgame to others. I ask you, my friend, have you ever had something call to you? Have you ever seen an item in-game and just gone, that is the coolest shit I have ever seen, how do I get it? I need it. For me, in Guild Wars 2 at least, that was Incinerator. A legendary dagger that took me so long to make, I almost made a full-length movie documenting the process. As over nearly 2 years of gameplay, I slowly cobbled the pieces together and figured out the fucking disaster that is the achievements panel. Sifting through wiki page after wiki page, and going on various adventures around Tyria to both get my gift of exploration as well as craft spark. Because my dumbass thought it would be a better idea to craft the precursor than to buy it. Oh, it'll tell a better story, you'll get more out of the game. Don't make my mistake, please. That Azuran jumping puzzle was hell on earth. Anyways, after crafting my incinerator, I had used an insane amount of gold and resources, so I laid off the legendary crafting journey as to recoup what I had spent. And all was going relatively well until the cycle started all over again with the legendary starter kit. Now, I need to give you a little bit of context here. With the newest expansion, Secrets of the Obscure, ArenaNet decided they wanted everyone to endure the absolute hell that is crafting legendaries. Or at least, I expected it to be hell, until I opened the starter kit and it gave me over 1,000 gold in materials. Yeah, that one was a bit of a shock. Now, what they don't tell you, though, is that you can't actually see what starter kits exist in the box until you either buy it or Google it. And as I was hunting for Sunrise next, I was quite disappointed to find out it was mostly dogshit Gen 1 legendaries. Like the meme pistol, or the sword that you crafted and replaced with the shining blade, or the scepter, the weapon class I have never used a day in my life. But, I mean, Revenant gets a lightsaber, so okay, that might have been a decent choice. But, ultimately, it was to be the Bifrost. A staff that lets you turn your auto attacks into rainbows. Gives you rainbow foot trails, even. And a glow that makes you feel just a tiny bit less dead inside. Sidebar, though, real quick. After finishing crafting this thing, and after all the work I've put in, I would have hoped there would have been a few more effects on this damn thing. There is so much missed potential when it comes to legendaries, especially the Bifrost, because you're telling me no one on your design team thought to give elementalists a rainbow meteor shower. Really? Not even for like a pride event? No? Damn it. Anyways, the other thing they don't tell you, which is real fun about the starter kit, is the components you get out of the box are randomized. Whilst it does give you the precursor and the gift of the weapon, easily costing you around 300 to 500 gold itself, you'll be randomized either a gift of might or a gift of magic, which is cancer, because entirely based off the market at the time, you may have to spend over 100 to 200 gold extra if you pulled the gift made out of the cheaper resources. I'm still appreciative of the gold value overall, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of funny that you can just get memed by God and have it cost you out of pocket. Thankfully, I got the good one at the time, which was magic, as vials of powerful blood were expensive as all hell, as they normally are. And with that, I had 3/4 of the Bifrost completed, just because I bought something from the wizard's vault. So, I had my next task, but I wanted to make things a little bit more interesting. Since my incinerator had taken me over 2 years to craft, I wanted to see just how fast I could finish my Bifrost. And I'll be honest, I had a pretty damn good start. So, I was off. And I learned a very valuable piece of information almost immediately. One that I think will have impact even beyond gaming. You see, I had already done this process once. The whole legendary crafting, that is. So since I had already charted the unknown, so to speak, it wasn't scary anymore. No longer was I confused or lost in the achievements panel. No longer was I at a loss for how to obtain mystic clovers. And no longer did I worry about having to grind out my gift of battle with the absolute fucking cowards that play World vs. World. No. I was instead a well-oiled machine. To start my journey, I knew I'd need clovers. So the first thing I did was Google how to get them, after checking how many I had left anyways. Turns out, you can almost get enough for a singular legendary in 2 weeks. If you start from 0 anyway. Just by buying them from weekly reset vendors around different game modes. So I did just that. Taking the clovers I already had, I went shopping. Fractals gave me 10 more. Leftover raid currency from a time where I walked with very different men gave me even more. And just real quick, I know he may never see this, but I met someone when I just started playing Guild Wars 2, and he kind of took me under his wing when I was streaming to very few viewers and showed me the entire game, took me on a couple raids with his guild and what have you, and really gave me the appreciation for Guild Wars 2 that I have now. So, Cookie, thank you very much for teaching me Guild Wars 2. and the raid currency literally helped me build Bifrost. I got 5 more clovers from PvP, another 10 from Miani, and a couple from World vs. World. It is crazy what stockpiled materials can do for you when you finally decide to fucking use them. And with that, my clovers were done within day 1, knowing I would get my last set from my Gift of Battle reward track, or even from the Wizard's Vault, if need be. So with that, it was to World vs. World for day 2. To complete a whole reward track seems like a massive pain in the ass, but in reality, it's just time-consuming. Because whilst you're forced to play PvP for your PvE endgame, people before me have also been annoyed by this same process, and thus optimized it, since they didn't want to PvP either. Meaning all I had to do was reach tier 6 participation by running with a commander for quite a while, to which we capped the whole map. And now, having done a little bit of preparation earlier, picking up a guild reward track booster from my guild hall, now that I had tier 6 participation, all I had to do was pop my other boosters, a celebration booster for 24 hours, and an experience booster for another 2, and all I had to do was cap a camp every 5 minutes or so, and let my boosted rewards slowly fill my reward track over the next 8 hours. Yeah, real riveting gameplay. But it gets even better, because for day 3, it was time for the Gift of Might, which is literally just a gold sink, requiring 250 of 4 types of tier 6 materials. The first thing I did was run to a laurel vendor and buy as many tier 6 crafting bags as my character could hold. I opened them all and sell-ordered the materials used for the gift I was given for free, giving me a relatively nice chunk of excess gold to buy even more of the materials I needed. Following that, I instantly went to my bank to see how many tier 6 material upgrades I could manage, and afterwards, needing only hard gold, since it was still Halloween, it was off to the labyrinth to grind my soul out for the last bit of gold I would need to purchase a full stack of ectos and the last remnants of the gift. I also sold some mystic coins to get me over the line, but funnily enough, I would have had a full stack of ectos if I didn't sell them all a day earlier to afford the tattoos the gem store put on sale. Look, it's a struggle when you play medium armor characters, okay? You gotta take every chess piece you can get. But finally, it was time for the last step. It was off to Tactician Deathstrider to buy my last obsidian shards, as all of my buy orders filled. And as I had already completed Tyria once, I still had a leftover gift of exploration. Even though it was a fast journey, I learned a relatively valuable lesson. That once charted, the unknown is not just bearable, but leverageable. And that stepping outside your comfort zone in pursuit of legendary tasks just may yield the pieces of the puzzle you were missing all along. Next step, Ascension. Eight years ago was the start of my Guild Wars 2 PvP journey. Back when there was a true competitive scene, when we had the old PvP lobby. Back in the days where a simple greatsword hammer warrior was not only viable, but one of my best performing videos of the time. You see, whilst I have picked up and put down Guild Wars 2 content creation over the years, due to it being a much smaller game than is able to sustain me, the adoration and love for SPVP never faded, until I finally decided to achieve something that I started those 8 years ago. I finally finished my Ascension, and it showed me just how much one of my favorite things has completely fallen apart. Win trading, AFKs, imbalanced matchmaking, angry Mexicans, and fucking scourges and dragon hunters everywhere. And that's just in your placements. Now I could sit here and rant about how dog shit PvP has gotten, but I'd rather show you. Because since I've been around the scene for a while, there's videos on the channel of the days before power creep, and I watched one yesterday and was completely amazed at the lack of red circles and the constant fucking spew that we have today. It just didn't exist, and it killed me inside, because Guild Wars 2 has a foundation unlike any other. It has a beautiful combat system that allows masterful skill expression at the highest levels, which is hard to showcase when your average PvP match now looks like this.
You must visit more often.
My guy fucking blocked me? Where the fuck are you going? What hot date do you have down there, dog? You just fucking ran completely out of line of sight. You see, I came back to Guild Wars 2 PvP because I finally had the legendary system make sense to me, and I wanted to make more. As I was already close to having Ascension, having done 3/4 of it passively, I figured, what the hell. I waited for a 3v3 season and started grinding with stars in my eyes, hoping to find and rekindle an old love. And very, very quickly, I realized this wasn't the game I knew. People died in seconds, even on tanky builds. The skill differential in players was vast. Backpedalers in Gold 1, and Barons of the Arena in Gold 3. No matter what build I played, 3v3 just devolved into everyone throwing their kits at each other and seeing who wins. I needed an answer to that, or I wasn't going to be able to build these wings in a timely manner. Thus, after being beaten down time after time by a scourge rolling his face on his keyboard, I decided to become the problem. And I created CC Breaker, or as I called it, Constant Cancer Spellbreaker. Hammer, Dagger Shield. Take every CC enhancement you can with as much tankability as the mode would let me have. My goal, don't care about damage, don't care about healing, just stop their engage and stomp them instantly. Because if it's all about vomiting kits on each other nowadays, if they can't do that, then it should be in our favor, right? Yeah, it worked almost a little too well, I'll be honest with you. This was the first build that almost gave me a perfect recent matches sheet. Going 9-1 before taking another loss, I had found my answer. But the grind was not to be. As in 3v3, you only got 500 rank points for a win, and I needed 100,000. It was about halfway through my grind when they announced a Call of the Mists event to start immediately after the 3v3 season. Something that would carry on the momentum, possibly, anyways, which would give bonus ranked points on top of the higher base amount the Conquest would also give me. So I took a break and came back to the 5v5 season, which ended up being even worse. You see, since it was a game-wide event, it meant new players would be trying out SPVP. Those players out in the world that get downed by thin air, now they're on your team, and they can't press a Condi cleanse, as I learned in my second ranked match against a coordinated, all Condi team that stomped us 500-0 with their PvP titles in hand. This is what PvP has become. A dying game mode where the veterans kill off any possibility of revival or help from ArenaNet by destroying the hopes of new players, just to get back a shred of their own self-confidence. That's when I realized there was no hope left in saving SPVP, at least as it currently stands anyways. As I was only there to finish my ascension, I yet again became the problem, crafting an all-Condi berserker, as if they can't press a cleanse, I'll press my advantage. To which I won 8 games in a row, and promptly almost got dropped in Platinum. The highest I've been in Guild Wars 2, by the way, which was the worst choice I could have made for this grind. I'll be honest with you, I'm against smurfing. Ever since I played League, I fucking hate it. But God, it would have saved my sanity if I just threw all my placement games and grinded my way up instead. And since my requirements came down to win and get rank points, and considering you only get a third of the rank points if you lose, all I had done was make things harder for myself by winning. Not because I couldn't play against better players, but due to the matchmaking imbalance, there was no guarantee of getting better players on either team. So there I am, stuck queuing in Platinum, whilst it gambles if I get an unranked player on my team. And whilst I personally don't flame in text chat anymore, the other players certainly fucking did. To which I found a beautiful irony of sorts. The same people who want more players in their game mode demean the new players and call them absolute ocelot shit because they don't know what they don't know, since PvP has no tutorials, thus pushing these players away permanently, creating an impossible situation. ArenaNet creates an event for an influx of players, and the already existing players force them out by beating them into the pavement. Nobody can win. 3v3 is just vomiting kits on each other, and 5v5 is a game of stomp or get stomped. Where's the reason to play? Where's the fun? Where's the beauty of Guild Wars 2's skill-expressive combat? I'll tell you where. Duel servers. Where I started, way back in the day, and how I learned Guild Wars 2 PvP, and where most of the veterans also probably learned Guild Wars 2 PvP. A completely community-made mode in which you join a custom arena and 1v1 people. A perfect place to get to know Guild Wars 2 PvP. So perfect, in fact, it drives people out of queuing SPVP. Because once you realize how good duels are, you don't want to play this 5v5 shitfest any longer. So where do people go? I'm pretty sure you know where they go. It gets me back into PvP every time. The outnumbered montages, the insane fights, and the duels, all hidden behind the banner of a game mode you wouldn't expect. World versus World. A game mode that doesn't sound like a dueling haven, but houses some of the best PvP experiences possible in Guild Wars 2. And whilst you will be getting steamrolled by a Zerg every now and then, when you get the beautiful, skillful 1v1, it makes it all worth it. So my point, and the point of this video, I want to call out ArenaNet specifically, and say, why aren't you capitalizing on this, man? You have a game mode that's been festering for years, that no matter how hard you push it, no one wants to play. I know people who stop queuing when the 3v3 season ends. They uninstall the game.
Also, why don't they just make this mode permanent? I don't get it.
You're telling me! Because you're gonna uninstall the moment Conquest comes out, and I'm gonna stop playing this mode the moment Conquest comes out. And you keep putting out these seasons, when you have the answer staring you right in the face. I'll outline it for you, even. Remove 5v5, and remove 3v3. Make ranked queues 1v1 on the 3v3 maps. Remove any healing power amulets, and make it so you can't queue on support specs, or your healing specs, at all, as to not have people chain queue healers, or even tanks, there'll need to be some adjustment, and drag out games. You could even add a 1-minute timer that triggers the 3v3 no healing overtime debuff, so you don't have people sitting in stealth either. Or a shrinking zone that forces players together or kills them. Make an introductory series of 1v1 tutorials that new players are forced to play through, and that you can stay in infinitely to teach people the basics of Guild Wars 2 PvP. And if you don't know what those basics are, contact me and I'll write them for you. This not only solves all the toxicity problems and the match fixing that you try so well to hide, it also gets the world versus world roamers into the game mode, even if it's just for their daily warm-up. And it gives you a unique PvP experience that no other MMO on the market is offering today. And if you want proof that people would play it, look no further than the multitude of WoW PvP community-held streamer duel tournaments, as well as your own custom arenas for 1v1 duels that are normally pretty full. There's a market here that people are clamoring for, and that no one has the balls to take. 1v1 is in, because we all fucking hate each other. So let us take it out on each other. And in the end, we'll build our own stories, create our own enemies, have our own nemesises, and build our own legends. Things that people use nowadays to sell competitive scenes. So you might be able to actually revive yours. Because otherwise, you end up in the same situation I did. And the same one that all the new players realize as well. Is that to truly ascend, you should have never played in the first place. If I told you this screenshot made me realize how amazing Guild Wars 2 really is, would you think I was crazy? Guild Wars 2, for all its glory, has always been the game people in my circles wish they could like. They sit down, play it, put it down, and never touch it again. I used to be like that, once. Just playing games at surface level, until one day I realized the disservice I was doing to both myself and the legendary experiences that had passed me by. Thanks to Guild Wars 2, I've started being able to actually enjoy both gaming and life again, as it's taught me lessons I never thought I could learn, and shown me I was more capable than I let myself realize. You see, when you spend your time surface gaming, we'll call it, you see everything, but you experience nothing. It used to happen to me playing with friends who were much faster than me, where I had to forego small details of gaming just to keep up. But I found that this play style of gaming stuck with me, even after gaming alone for a while. I eventually resigned myself to always be the person who would get to see other people with cool stuff. I'd see Incinerator and say, man, that's really cool. I wish I could have that. All the while knowing a task like that was far too much for me. I didn't have that time, that dedication, that discipline. So game to game I went, leaving my hopes and dreams behind me in every game I walked away from, as if to walk in starry-eyed and dash my own hopes when I walked away. With every game I played, there was always something I wished I could do, but never could. I never believed that I could do it, until I took this screenshot, and it all made sense. Guild Wars 2 has an in-game system called gem conversion, allowing you to exchange in-game gold to the premium store currency, which for me, as a struggling YouTuber, was a gold mine. Do you mean I could get cool skins and all I had to do was play? I was in. I quickly realized how much I loved Longbow Ranger, and was beyond annoyed when I realized that they only had maybe over a dozen non-trench coat chest pieces in total, a number which thankfully has been expanding over the recent years, but only thanks to the gem store. You see, I was presented with a weird predicament pretty early into my Guild Wars 2 experience. Deadass broke, and the only ways to make my class look cool required either a lot of money or a shitload of grinding. So I got to work, learning fractals, mastering PvP, understanding the systems of Guild Wars 2, and eventually, after a few months of waiting for the armor I wanted to go on sale, I finally got the Crichton set, a returning set from Guild Wars 1 that had a chest piece without a trench coat, allowing me to start making any transmog I wanted. And during that time of acquiring the Crichton set, I had learned a lot. I made friends that helped me get started in Guild Wars 2, and I realized that I actually wanted to try for Incinerator, even if I just slowly chipped away at it over years to come. I wasn't going to make it, but the pipe dream was nice. During my time getting the Crichton set, I also discovered another medium set that blew me away. The Strider set. Looking as close to Sylvanas as I could possibly get, and covered head to toe in blades, with transparent coverings, to show off my Norn's tattoos, I needed to add it to the anti-trenchcoat wardrobe. So off I went, to discover more of Guild Wars 2, slowly progressing through my Incinerator's precursor and getting much better at PvP. Learning more about fractals from the community of players that was willing to teach me, and slowly helped me raise my fractal level and do my dailies to earn a nice chunk of gold. And after a while of waiting for another sale, I got the Strider set, allowing me to mix and match with the Crichton to make all new transmogs that I would still use to this day. As I reached fractal level 75, they launched Chaos Gloves, a returning item from Guild Wars 1 that I always wished I could have gotten back when I was younger, only having ever gotten the stone gloves back in the day, although I did want the destroyer and dragon gloves. Maybe one day I'll go back. So every day, I logged in, ran my daily fractals with new groups of people, learned new optimized skips, figured out new ways to make gold, attempted some trading post flipping, messed around with some new builds, and eventually got Chaos Gloves, something childhood me would have been ecstatic over. It was at this point I would put down Guild Wars 2 for a while and venture into different games, until I eventually came back, months later. Completely lost and unsure what to do, until I looked in the gem store and saw the Ice Reaver chest piece. Not only was it not a trench coat, but it glowed. You know I was back in. And so the cycle begun again. New builds, new people, new experiences, all whilst working towards something I actually wanted, and being rewarded in more ways than just gold. All the while, wearing my previous achievements. And yes, I know it may seem stupid to care this much about gloves or a chest piece, but that's the point. Guild Wars 2 lets you care about whatever you want. It lets you decide what's important to you, no matter how stupid it is, and it does its best to help you get there. After the chess piece, I was directionless, but now, wearing 3 of my past achievements, the impossible might just be possible. So, I started my 2-year journey towards Incinerator. Every day, I logged in, and I did something. I didn't care what it was, just something to further my goal, something to get me closer, inch by inch, day by day, and slowly, things started to fall into place. I built the precursor by hand, which was a fucking horrible idea, cost-wise, by the way. Now that I know what I'm doing, terrible idea. But an experience I'm grateful for, as it took me across Tyria, through puzzles and dungeons I never knew existed and walked right by. I fought my way through the fucking disaster that is the achievements panel to figure out how to build the damn thing. I was going to fucking finish it. So to do that, I needed 100% world completion. So as I had decided to make a thief and branch out in the medium class so I could get more value out of the armor I had worked so hard for, I went for 100% completion on that and discovered my love for Shortbow Deadeye, the build I would finish the rest of Core Tyria with. It was at this time that I went through a massive period of shit in my life. I wound up living with some very horrible people. But at the end of the day, even if everything was falling apart around me, I could log in and feel like I made some progress towards something I wanted. It kept me going back then. So eventually, day by day, I 100%ed Core Tyria. And when I saw that gift of mastery on my screen, I felt a true sense of achievement for the first time in a while. And it was on. I needed a gift of battle, so I went to World vs. World and met a revenant named Forlorn, who I roamed with for around 8 hours until I got my gift. If you're out there, I appreciate you, my friend. And finally, after 2 years of dedication, 2 years of hour by hour, day by day, I hit craft. I equipped my Incinerator, and finally, it all made sense. As I looked at the blade, I began to remember. The hard-fought victories in dire straits. The friends who taught me fractals and are now lost to time. The adventures through Tyria and the stupid shit I would find. It wasn't a legendary because it looked cool. It was a legendary because the story of building it became legend. And I know, when it's all said and done, it's just a game that disappears the moment I get up from this chair. But to this day, every time I wield that blade, I remember everything. And whilst not everything comes with a legacy, like my bow that I bought off the trading post for 79 gold, and whilst not everything has to be a drawn-out journey, like my boots that were part of the 10-year celebration that allowed me to re-explore Tyria at my own pace for one of the coolest sets medium armor can wear. Sometimes, seeing a journey's end is to close a chapter. Like my Wings of Ascension, my most recent 8-year journey that I wear proudly as a testament to my own prowess and dedication. And yes, you may have built them faster. You may have done it better. You may have more optimal methods. You may have swiped a card to spend the gold on it. But not me. I did it. All of it. I finally did it. In Guild Wars 2, you don't wear armor. You wear stories. You don't wield weapons. You wield legends. Which is why it always made me sad that my friends never paid attention during character creation. Because they told you, right from the start, that this is my story. So what's yours?